Religious tourism mixes culture and devotion, art and spirituality, nature and introspection. Pilgrims and tourists coincide, discovering a different way to learn and experiment. There is something they all have in common. They will all want to return. The Marian Route goes through 5 of the most important centres of devotion for the Holy Virgin. Adapted to modern times, the temples of Marian devotion have become important tourist destinations that attract more than 12 million persons every year. Grouped within a radius of 400 kilometres, these 5 sanctuaries give life to the Marian Route, which has thus become a road of faith, art and culture.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Marian Route online seminar. Let me start by thanking all of you for taking the time to attend this event. I know that we have travel agencies from different parts of the world, so let me start by saying good morning for those of you who are following us from North America. I hope you already grabbed your cup of coffee, maybe with a donut or a muffin. We're gonna need the energy for today's session. Those of you who are following us from Europe, good afternoon. You should be your energy quite up by now. But before we start with getting down to the business, let me give you a few explanations or clarifying some information that I think is important before we start. The first thing is that we are not a travel agency or we are not an incoming agency. Therefore, we're not here to try to sell you our services. We are a promotion office and we're going to try to do today is provide you information on a destination, that it is the Marian Route. The second thing that I think we need to clarify is that we're going to speak today only about 2 sanctuaries, the sanctuaries that are part of the region of Aragon. The reason behind this is because talking about all 5 sanctuaries would be probably too long and too much information for all of you. So we're just going to try to have for you to have an idea on what these 2 stages of the route are. Another thing is that the kind of travel agencies following us here is different. We have some of them that are specialized in religious tourism, but we have some others that is not their main business, and they find this interesting because they're going to try to look for different markets and options for business. This is why we're going to try to make an explanation that is going to be general and useful for all kind of needs for the agencies. In case you need more specific information, don't worry about it. You'll be able to contact us at any time. And we'll be more than glad to provide you that information that you may need, that it could be more specific. Keep in mind also that some of you have customers that are different from others. Some travel with younger crowds, some other travel with older crowds. So the information that we're going to be giving is going to be good for everyone, and maybe at some point it's not going to be useful for you, but there'll be other points that they definitely will. All right, so now let's get to what the Marian Route is. Since some of you don't know much about it, let me make a brief introduction on what the Marian Route is. We can say that it's an itinerary of faith that links up 5 different sanctuaries. They all are dedicated to the devotion of Virgin Mary. However, there are 5 different ways to understand this devotion. That's something that once you go to this to the temples, you're going to see how different they are from one to the other one. You have some buildings that are old and with history, and you're going to have some sanctuaries that are modern buildings. The distance between them are 2 to 4 hours, so it's quite easy to move from one to the next one. Another thing is that the itinerary goes across 3 different countries, Spain, France, and the small country that is between them in the top of the Pyrenees, that is the Principality of Andorra. Let me present you the sanctuaries. Here we have El Pilar. This is an urban sanctuary in the heart of the city and still plays an important role in the day-to-day life of this city. Torre Ciudad is more like a countryside sanctuary and is known for being the sanctuary of the families. I'm sure most of you know the sanctuary of Lourdes in France, as is known for all the pilgrimages that arrive every year from all around the world. Meritxell, probably the least known of all the 5 sanctuaries, is the one located in the Principality of Andorra and is the religious heart of that country. And finally, Montserrat. It is more than just a sanctuary, as it is also a monastery. It is located also in Spain, in the region of Catalonia. Every year, around 12 million people come to visit the Marian Route. And with this, I'm not saying that the 12 million people visit all 5 sanctuaries. Some people choose to visit one at a time, some other 2 or 3. But yes, we have some people that program the entire Marian Route, visiting all 5 sanctuaries. What are the goals of the Marian Route and what are the objectives? Most people would think that our goal is just to make sure that the 5 sanctuaries are well known all around the world. And yes, that's true, but we cannot say that it is the only goal or objective that we have. The sanctuaries are well aware of the impact that they have in the local economy, and therefore they wanted, through the Marian Route, to make sure that we were promoting also the local businesses and the local economy. To get that done, our promotion focuses on 4 different lines of promotion. Culture, nature, local cuisine, and spirituality. Let's start with culture. Since this is a region with a lot of history, Europe, there are so many cultures that have been occupying different territories. We got a great amount of building, monuments, constructions, works of art, and also something very important in culture are the local traditions. So all of this is something that we're going to try to promote. Here are some examples that you can of things that you can see in the Marian Route: castles, monasteries, churches, cathedrals, museums. Nature, the second thing that we're going to try to promote, because it brings a lot of business to the local areas. We've been lucky to be a part of this region with mountain ranges, valleys, fields, and this allows people to enjoy nature and also enjoying some sports that can be practiced in the area. For example, during the winter, ski is one of the sports that can be played in the high mountains and the Pyrenees. And also during the summer, some other sports such as canyoning, rafting, or trekking. Very important in most trips nowadays is the meal experience for the traveler, as many people just want to make sure that they enjoy the food and the local cuisine. Well, this is something that also we're trying to promote here in the Marian Route. And in this case, cultures like the Roman, the Muslim, the Jews, and the Christian had added something to the local cuisine and the local gastronomy. We're also in a region where wine is important, and this is why you're going to have the opportunity to visit different wineries around the area and understanding the culture of the wine. Also interesting, the tapas and the places that you can go bar to bar just trying these tapas. The fourth part that we're trying to promote is the spirituality. That's something that you're going to be breathing throughout the route, but especially in the 5 sanctuaries. That's where you probably feel that more. Now back again to the map. What is the best way to travel the Marian Route? That's a question that we get asked frequently. And we always have the same answer. There is not a better way to travel the route. There is not an entering point, or there is not an exit point for it. All right. As I said, there are some travel agencies that choose to do just a couple of sanctuaries, some other choose to do some different ones, or the entire route. No good option for it. The ones that come from abroad, the travel agencies that come from abroad usually use different airports around the Marian Route to come into the area. If you fly straight to Spain, for example, Madrid and Barcelona will be the gates to the Marian Route. However, we have some people from North America or South America that choose to fly to Lisbon in Portugal. Why? Because they also include a visit to the Sanctuary of Fatima to their itinerary. Some people fly to France and start from Lourdes, and they take a local flight from Paris to South France to start from there the route. And there are even some others that fly all the way to Rome to visit the Vatican, and from there start a larger itinerary through Europe. Sometimes also the Vatican is the end of the trip, and Rome becomes the exit gate for these trips. Once you're in the Marian Route, or once you're but down from the airport, it is ground transportation where you're going to be used. There is no public transportation that takes you from one sanctuary to the other, or probably the public transportation would take you to the town or the village that is close, but not to the sanctuary itself. This is why we recommend to take your own, or to make your own arrangements for transportations. If you're traveling as an individual, maybe with your own car or renting a car. If you're traveling as an agency with your group, hire a bus service, a ground service that take you all around the Marian Route. As I said, some information here on the transportations. 2 companies here that you can use for moving around the Marian Route, some regular lines, but as I said, they won't take you straight to the sanctuary. They put you close to the nearest village. And now we're gonna get to the 2 sanctuaries that are the main part of our explanation today, the sanctuary of El Pilar and the sanctuary of Torre Ciudad. They're both in the historic region of Aragon, but since I've already been talking for a while, and since an image is worth 1,000 words, please let me play a video on the region of Aragon. I'm sure you will enjoy.
be free, to live and be free. Walk the path, take some time to laugh. Maybe it's been a while, but even try to smile, even try to smile. 'Cause today is only here and ends tomorrow. There's no point living a life that's full of regret and drowning in sorrow. Lift your head up high and open your eyes. You can choose to be happy. If you try, you might be surprised. Choices that you make can be revised. Have no fear for the time you're here. And if you don't know where to start, then follow your heart, follow your heart. And run, run fast. Learn from things that have passed. And know that everything's okay. Just make that choice today. Make your choice today. 'Cause today is only here and ends tomorrow. There's no point living a life that's full of regret and drowning in sorrow. Lift your head up high and open your eyes. You can choose to be happy. If you try, you might be surprised. Choices that you make can be revised. Have no fear for the time you're here. And if you don't know where to start, then follow your heart, follow your heart. And run, run fast. Learn from things that have passed. And know that everything's okay. Just make that choice today. Make your choice today. 'Cause today is only here and ends tomorrow. There's no point living a life that's full of regret and drowning in sorrow. Lift your head up high and open your eyes. You can choose to be happy. If you try, you might be surprised. Choices that you make can be revised. Yeah, today is only here and then it's tomorrow. There's no point living a life that's full of regret and drowning in sorrow. Lift your head up high and open your eyes. You can choose to be happy. If you try, you might be surprised. Choices that you make can be revised.
Beautiful, isn't it? I'm sure the video already got your attention and now you have more interest on coming and visit the area. There are many things that you're gonna see there, as you've already seen in the video, but what's the best way to travel? What are the recommendation days to visit it? And what are the time of the year to visit these two stages of the Marian Route? Our recommendation is that spend at least 2 days in Zaragoza and at least 1 day in Torre Ciudad and the surrounding area. However, I know that there are travel agencies that they just use 1 day in Zaragoza and sometimes they do a day trip to Torre Ciudad. But as I said, our recommendation is to use at least 2 days in Zaragoza and 1 in Torre Ciudad. The time of the year to visit these two stages, it could be all year round. There are many things that can be done and everything is open during the 4 seasons. Just keep in mind temperatures that it could be a bit colder during winter time. In Zaragoza it's cold, Torre Ciudad a bit colder because it's closer to the Pyrenees. Summertime Zaragoza is gonna be hot. But Torre Ciudad is gonna be a little chill. I mean, still a good time to travel this area. Something interesting about Zaragoza is there are 3 times of the year that I think it gets more spiritual, and one of them would be Christmas time, as there is a lot of life in the square outside the Basilica. The second time of the year that I think is pretty good is the Holy Week. You're gonna have a lot of processions in the city, and it's gonna be very interesting if you're actually traveling with a group that is very keen on religion. Just keep in mind that during these days you might have problems finding a hotel room, so just try to book it with quite some time in advance. The third time of the year that is very spiritual in the city of Zaragoza is the October festivals. The festivals are dedicated to the Virgin Mary. The city is gonna be full of colors all during the entire week. And the same thing as I said before, just keep in mind the booking hotels that do it with enough time in advance. If you're gonna travel to Torre Ciudad during the winter time, I would just keep in mind that if you're planning on crossing to the other side to the sanctuary of Lourdes, the winter could have some snow on the roads. If it just happens that there are snowstorms during the days that you're here. Other than that, there should be no problems with the roads. And after talking about this, it is now time to start presenting or giving you more information on the sanctuaries. So I'm gonna let a video do the job again for me. And so let's play a video on El Pilar.
But to speak of religious art and of devotion to the Virgin is to speak of the Basilica of Nuestra Señora del Pilar in Zaragoza. The alma mater of all Spanish sanctuaries, the oldest Marian temple in the world. According to an age-old Marian tradition, the Virgin Mary came in mortal flesh to Zaragoza to comfort the Apostle James, Santiago, on the banks of the Ebro River. Since that time, the Virgin that rises up on the pillar of jasper that is covered with bronze and silver has been venerated. A sanctuary in the middle of a city. The Pilar is a true symbol that accompanies many Zaragozans in their lives. The introspective atmosphere of the holy chapel where she is honored. The overwhelming magnificence of the Baroque style. The temple, declared a national monument, is a source of emotions. Walking through the Herrerian-style nave, the visitor ennobles his spirit. With a choir behind him and facing the alabaster altarpiece of Damian Forment, he is overwhelmed. Gazing upwards, The domes painted by Goya bring him closer to heaven. In the square of the cathedrals, the Basilica of the Pilar shares the setting with Liceo del Salvador, San Salvador Cathedral, registered by the UNESCO on the World Heritage List. And in this capital of contrasts, the development of the city turns our gaze once again to the Ebro. The vanguard of modernity and tradition stand face to face.
Quite a large temple, right? Actually, it is the second largest temple in Spain. The sanctuary has devotion of over 2,000 years. According to tradition, Apostle James was preaching the gospel in the Iberian Peninsula, in the Roman Hispania, what it is now Spain and Portugal. He wasn't being very successful at that time, so he was a bit down. So tradition says that Virgin Mary came in mortal flesh to comfort him. She brought with her a column, a pillar, and told Apostle St. James to build a church leaning on that pillar. This is why the Virgin is called the Virgin of El Pilar, the Virgin of the Pillar. She's the patron saint of the Hispanic people, and this is why when you are gonna enter and visit the Holy Chapel, you're gonna see in both sides the flags of the South American countries. You've already seen that information in the video, but I think you should pay special attention when you visit the temple to the following places. The main altarpiece, it's made of alabaster and it's a very impressive structure. The Holy Chapel, that is the heart of the Basilica. It is not in the center, but it is where they have located the image of the Virgin of El Pilar. You're gonna see the image right on top that pillar. Sometimes you won't see it because it is covered with cloaks that they're being given to her as a present. Right behind the Holy Chapel, you go around, and behind the Holy Chapel, exactly where the column is, there is a point, a kneeling point that is called the Humilladero. That's where an opening in the area that actually allows you to touch or kiss the column of the pillar, this pillar. Very important point to pay attention are the paintings of Francisco de Goya in the vaults of the Basilica. We will talk about Goya later on, but just remember this. Also, there is a museum inside the Basilica in which you're going to be able to see some religious work of art and the collection of cloaks that are used to cover the column or to dress the Virgin, the image of the Virgin. Let me show you some examples. Here is the main altar. And interesting, on October 12th, as you remember I said before, or I mentioned the festival dedicated to the Virgin of El Pilar, well, especially on October 12th is a very important day because faithful from all over Spain and even from other countries come to pay their respects to her. How do they do that? They bring flowers and they make a cloak made of flowers, as you can see now in the pictures. I could give information on opening hours, contact information, but I think this is information that you can get our website, so I don't see a point on telling you what time do something open or what time it closes. So I'm gonna leave that for you in case you're interested in knowing that information. It's good to keep that in mind, trying to arrange the times when your bus arrives and so. But that information is available in our website, so I don't see a point on going over it. This, however, I think is quite interesting, because if you're traveling with a bus in your group, there is a drop-off point right behind the basilica. The bus can stop there. Your group will be able to get down and just walking distance to the basilica, and from there the bus will just go across the river to a parking area only for the buses, what is, in my opinion, quite convenient for you. All right. Accommodations, hotels and restaurants. Being Zaragoza, the fifth largest city in Spain, it already has a good amount of hotels in the area. Actually, there is a good number of them very close to the basilica, and with so many hotels you're going to be able to find different room rates, and I'm sure some of them will match what you're looking for. If you're not so interested on getting the hotel so close to the sanctuary because you're planning on visit all the areas of the city, there are more hotels around the city and even outside the city in different towns or villages that are not so far from Zaragoza. When it comes to restaurants, also walking distance from the basilica, you're going to have a wide variety of restaurants. Buffet and Mediterranean style cuisine and so. But there is a recommendation that I would do for you is that if you're going to have at least more than one meal in Zaragoza, I would give some free time to your group and allow them to go tapas hopping in the bars near the area. What is going tapas hopping? You go to a bar, you enter there, you order a tapa, and you order a drink, maybe wine, maybe beer. You eat the tapa, you drink the wine, and move around to the next bar. You repeat the process again, you do that 3-4 times, and by the end you've already had your meal. You may end up a little tipsy, but that's part of the deal. And that's something that we Spaniards do with quite regularly. Guides. If you're traveling with your own guide, it's not going to have any problem giving explanation throughout the city. However, for certain visits, I would recommend for you to use local guides. There are some private guides and there are some public guides that belong to the town hall, and you can get in touch with them through Zaragoza Turismo. Keep in mind that you can always get in touch with us and we can give you any additional information on anything that you need, such as this information. Same thing with local incoming agencies that you might need to use or you may want to use for hiring some local services. Again, any information that you might need, please feel free to contact us through our mail or through our website. And since I've been already talking for a while, let me play another video. This time it's gonna be about the city of Zaragoza. Enjoy. As you can see, there are many things to see and many things to do in the city of Zaragoza. So let me help you a little bit just by giving you a few options that I think could be very interesting for you, especially because they're very close to the Basilica of El Pilar and they're walking distance. So it can be pretty convenient for the group or the tour organization. The first one would be the Cathedral of Laseo. If you exit the Basilica of El Pilar, the Cathedral of El Pilar, you're going to look left and it is right there in the same square, another cathedral. This is a UNESCO World Heritage and is a great example of a European Gothic style. Once you get in the Basilica, you're going to look for the usual, the main altarpiece, the choir, and pay a visit to the church. Also, the vaults are very interesting for the geometrical structures. But my recommendation here is going to be to pay a visit to the museum that is inside this cathedral. It's a tapestries museum, a very valuable collection of tapestries from the 15th to the 18th century. I'm sure you will enjoy this visit. Exiting the cathedral and just on your right, you're going to find the Alma Mater Museum, a great combination between the religious works of art and the historical building. The next thing that I'm going to recommend to you is the visit of Caesar Augusta. Caesar Augusta was the name given to Zaragoza by its founder, Emperor Caesar Augusto of Rome. And the remains that you're going to find here are not as good as you will find them in Italy, but you don't need to go all the way there to visit a Roman city. The examples that we have here in Zaragoza are the Forum, right in the same square, the river port, very close by the Basilica, the city walls, the baths, and the theater. The theater is a bit farther, but still walking distance. The next thing that I'm going to recommend to you, since you're in Zaragoza, is to visit or to get some information on Francisco de Goya. Francisco de Goya was one of the most famous painters in Spain. Together with Velázquez and Picasso, the three of them can be considered the best painters in Spain. Since he was born just in a village very close to Zaragoza, we can find a lot of works of art painted by him in the area. The first example is going to be the same Basilica of El Pilar. I've already told you about the two vaults, the two domes that are painted by him in the Basilica. Very interesting paintings, something that you must see if you're in the Basilica. Right across the square, you're going to find the Goya Museum. Here, in addition to regular paintings of the painter that you're going to find there, it is very interesting the engraving collections that they have, as is the full collection of engravings. Other museum that you can visit if you're interested in these paintings is the Museum of Zaragoza. And just a few miles from Zaragoza, not very far, there are some also interesting paintings in the monastery of Aula Dei, Cartuja de Aula Dei's name. The next thing would be the Mudéjar art, is UNESCO World Heritage, and also an interesting thing that you're going to find scattered throughout the city of Zaragoza. Very recognizable for these geometrical figures that they have in the construction. There are several examples of it in the city, but I think one that is quite interesting is the Castle Palace of La Aljaferia. Is an astonishing Arabic palace, and again UNESCO World Heritage, and one of the most important pieces of art of the Spanish Arabic architecture. In the last few years, one of the things that has become a must in any vacation or in any trip is the shopping. And Zaragoza is a great opportunity to do this shopping in your trip if you organize it through the Marian Route. Not only in the area near the Basilica, there are several streets with different kind of shops that I'm sure will be enjoyed by your customers, such as clothing shops, shoe shops, or jewelry shops. If you're very interested in the shopping part, you can also take them to a large mall that we have outside the city that is called Puerto Venecia. And obviously, as you've seen in the video, there are many things to do in the city. I just pointed out some of them that I think could be very useful for you if you program a trip including Zaragoza in your itinerary, but there are many things to do. Again, I'm not telling you to do all of them ones that I recommend. I just gave you those options so you can pick from them. All right. We could be talking more about Zaragoza, but I think for today is good enough. So let's say we were in a hypothetical trip into this Ruta Mariana. We will be now leaving towards Torre Ciudad. Okay, we will be leaving behind us the crowded streets of Zaragoza, and we will be entering a less populated area. We're moving from the city to the countryside, and without noticing, as we go towards Torre Ciudad, we'll be gaining some altitude because we're getting closer to the Mount Pyrenees. So, since the time between that takes you going from Zaragoza to Torre Ciudad is not much, it's 1.5 hours to 2 hours, I think this is a great opportunity for a detour. All right, and I'm gonna give you 3 options of 3 visits that you can do if you're interested on going somewhere else before arriving to Torre Ciudad. Here in the map, you're gonna see Zaragoza in the bottom, Torre Ciudad on the other side, and the 3 red circles are the 3 options that I'm recommending to you today. When we go to Torre Ciudad, we usually go around the city of Huesca. So my first recommendation is, instead of going around, just stopping in the city. It's the capital city of the province with the same name. And my recommendations here is the usual, the old town. Any of the cities, any European city with an old town, it is worth visiting. But from there, I recommend to you to visit the cathedral and also the San Pedro el Viejo church with its cloister and the royal pantheon. My second option for you is the Loarre Castle, a masterpiece of the Romanesque style. It's very well preserved and it's been used for several movies or commercials. Very interesting visit that I recommend it to be done with a guide. You can hire an English-speaking guide there with no problem, and just in case, do it ahead of time, just in case they're not available the day you arrive there. Since we're already in Loarre, there is 2 things that we can do. The first one, if you travel with a younger crowd, it will be to allow them to do a guided rafting experience. Very nice. As I said, if you're traveling with a crowd that is into this kind of sport, it will be a great opportunity. And also a great picture opportunity. Not so far from Loarre, we have this rocky formation, interesting rocky formation where people use for climbing, and again, it's a great picture opportunity. The third option that I'm going to give you before arriving to Torre Ciudad is the village of Alquézar. You're going to find this name in any of those lists that says the 20 best villages to visit in Spain. Alquézar is going to show up in many of those lists. What to visit here? I recommend to just visit the downtown area, very well preserved. It is a medieval labyrinth-like streets, so it's nice to get lost there. It has a spectacular Santa Maria la Mayor Colegiata. You can see it there in the picture. On the top is a church and at the same time a fortification, so it's very interesting. And Alcázar, it's also the entry of the Guara Natural Park, another park where again the younger crowd can do some canyoning, guided tours with for canyoning in the area. And now we would be arriving to Torre Ciudad. So as I've been doing previously, I'm gonna let a video do the introduction for me.
Downstream, overlooking the El Grado Reservoir, we find the sanctuary of Torre Ciudad. Standing on a high promontory, the sanctuary comes to life amidst an idyllic landscape. The constant coming and going of the faithful, seeking a place of peace, calm, and introspection. The old hermitage, origin of the devotion to the Virgin of Torre Ciudad since the 11th century. Saint José María Escrivá de Balaguer, founder of the Opus Dei, was the promoter of this sanctuary, which was opened for worship in 1975. Today, these grounds host mass pilgrimages, such as the Marian Conference of the Family, which every year brings together thousands of pilgrims on the great esplanade of the monumental architectural complex. The alabaster main altarpiece, the Chapel of the Most Holy, or the organ, with more than 4,000 pipes, are three of its greatest attractions. But without a doubt, the incomparable setting, sheltered by the Pyrenees, is the most important asset of this impressive sanctuary.
It always amazes me the ability to choose these locations for the sanctuaries. Would you have been able to choose a better location than this? And I mean, the lake on the feet, the mountains on the background with the peaks full of snow. I mean, amazing. Anyway, Torre Ciudad. It is one of the most visited places in the Pyrenees and is known as the sanctuary of the families. It is believed that the devotion for the Virgin of Torre Ciudad is over 1,000 years, and we have the hermitage there to prove it. This hermitage was the first place where the Virgin of Torre Ciudad was kept, and now it's still in use, as some people still celebrate weddings there, baptisms, or any other celebrations. However, it was San José María Escrivá de Balaguer, the founder of the Opus Dei, who at some point in his life thought it would be a great idea to build a larger sanctuary to honor the Virgin of Torre Ciudad. The reason behind it is that when he was 2 years old, he got extremely sick, and the doctors didn't give any hope to his parents for recovery. So they decided to pray to the Virgin of Torre Ciudad, and months later he recovered from his illness. So the faith on the Virgin of Torre Ciudad grew up very strong in the family. Years later, with the idea of building this new large temple, he talked to several people. They liked the idea and they started to raising the funds to build it. It's a modern building, as it was finished in 1975. That's the year actually that it opens the doors for the first time. And the new sanctuary is not just the temple, it's set a complex of three different parts. One is the temple, the other one is the square, and the third one is the buildings that are around it. It stands out in the landscape of the area. Once you come to the interior, is an invitation for meditation and prayer. So my recommendation when you get there is to get that feeling from it. What to see inside? The usual, the altarpiece. In this case, the figures that are there are dedicated to the life of Virgin Mary, from the top to the bottom, and in the center bottom part is where the image of the Virgin of Torrecidad is located nowadays. Another thing to visit inside the temple would be the Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, that is dominated by a bronze crucified Christ. Recently, Torrecidad has added new display centers, try to improve the traveler and pilgrim experience in the sanctuary. The first one of these displays is called Live the Experience of Faith, a multimedia immersion in which you're going to be able to understand better the sanctuary, and also they're going to answer some questions on life and faith. The second one is the map making that is projected against the main altarpiece in the temple. This has a screening available in English, so you just need to request that there. And it's something that you can do with your entire group. I think it is 6 minutes or so, so it will improve the experience of your group, and it will just take 6 minutes, and a request to do that in English. And something curious that I would recommend about Torrecidad is the visit of the gallery of the images of Virgin Mary. These are replicas of virgins that are brought, of images of virgins that are brought from parishes throughout the world. I think they now have more than 400, and last time I was there, I got my attention a Japanese virgin. I challenge you to find it if you're there, if you go there, and you will understand why I thought it was interesting. Just information on the parking area. If you come with your bus or if you come with your private car, there are parking areas very close to the square, so you're not going to have any problem with this. Again, same thing as I said before for El Pilar. Here the same thing. Information on opening hours, contact information, you can find that through our website. And if by any chance you don't get to find it correctly, you can always send us an email, and we'll be more than glad to answer your questions with anything that you may need. Okay. Before we go to what we can visit in the area, I'd like to talk about hotels and restaurants. It's a bit different from what we have in Zaragoza, because there are not so many hotels and they're not so close to the sanctuary. Probably if you want to book a hotel, you're going to have to do it in one of the towns or villages that are around it. Barbastro, for example, has a good one. El Grado, that is the closest to Torrecidad, has an accommodation there. You're going to have to look if that's the kind of accommodation that you need. Ainsa is also another option, and Alcázar, for example. But you shouldn't have any problem finding hotel reservations. Something similar is with restaurants. There is more offer in restaurants. Actually, there is one very close to the sanctuary in a place called El Tozal. There is just outside or even within the sanctuary perimeter, so very good options there, and also very good options around the area. Okay, what can we visit? The first thing that I would recommend is a visit to the town of Barbastro. It's the capital of the Somontano Shire, And the usual, my recommendation is to visit the old part of the town, paying special attention to the cathedral. The vaults in the cathedral are also impressive, and outside the cathedral, the diocesan museum in the Episcopal Palace. Okay. The Somontano Shire is a land of wine. This is why you're going to find quite a few wineries in the area. They're all visitor friendly, so you're going to be able, if you want to get a guided visit to any of these wineries. I think it's very interesting for groups, very interesting visits, and also you can end it up, if you want to, with a wine tasting. That is always something to add to any trip. The next thing that I would visit is the town of Graus. It has a very interesting Butterwalk Square, as you can see in the picture now. It's been used for several commercials, and I think it also is been used in a movie because of the look like an Italian Renaissance village. Also in Graus you have the Basilica of Virgen de la Peña. Very interesting visit, and also a great picture opportunity because it's in an elevated area, so you can have a nice picture of all the lands around it. You can also pay a visit to Roda dei Samina, a very small village, and believe it or not, there is a cathedral there in a really small village. From here we can go north towards Lourdes, and we're gonna find the place of Abithanda in our way. Very interesting, the fortress that has been refurbished, and it looks exactly like it would look when it was in use. From here we continue going towards Lourdes, and we're going to stop in Ainsa. Same thing that happened with Alcázar, we have here with Ainsa. Again, in one of those lists where it says the 20 best villages with enchantment in Spain, Ainsa will show up in many of those lists. Old town very well preserved, and the fortification around the village that is also very interesting. Ainsa is the gate of entrance for the Ordesa Valley and the Pineta Valley. The Ordesa National Park is one of the most interesting national parks in Spain, and it's united to another national park in the French side. From here you will be crossing the Pyrenees and getting over to France, but there is another option, going to France, going to Lourdes through a different way, and that would be going towards Canfranc and through Jaca. I would definitely stop in Jaca because it was the capital of the old Kingdom of Aragon, and there are many things to be seen there. My recommendation in the city is the Old Town again, and the cathedral, a Romanesque style cathedral that is very impressive for the kind of construction that it has. Very close to Jaca, you have San Juan de la Peña, a monastery that it was very close, had a very close relation with the first kings of this Kingdom of Aragon in the beginning of the previous around 1100 year. Okay, from there we would go to Canfranc. Yes, it would be the last place to visit in Aragon before entering France. And my recommendation here is to visit the train station. It's not in use anymore, but it was built to impress the passengers or the customers that would arrive there from other countries. That would be pretty much a rough explanation on what are these two stages of the Marian Route. Again, it's been information given to try to please everyone's needs, but if you need any information that is more specific, please make sure that you get in touch with us through our website or through our email address. We can answer or give you any information that you may have. Now I'm gonna answer a few questions that were given to me before. I guess was sent from you prior to the beginning of this session today. So let's see. Ricardo from Tampa, Florida says, do you have any brochures or other marketing tools that I can use to show the Marian Route to my clients? And if so, where can I get them? Yes, we do have several marketing tools that you as a travel agent can use. As I said before, an image is worth 1,000 words. So the video that you have in our homepage in our website will have it's a very good tool to show to your customers. We also have some brochures. You can download them from our website too. And if you can find it, again, send us an email and we'll be more than glad to send them to you. Let me see another question. Marianne from Dublin. We organize several religious trips every year. Most of them are for parishes, and they usually travel with their own priest. The priest usually celebrates Mass in the sanctuaries we visit. Can we do the same thing with the Marian Route sanctuaries? Well, the answer here would be yes and maybe. I'd say yes because it's something that the sanctuaries do all the time. They have areas where different priests that come from with groups can celebrate their Mass, but there is sometimes that they have way too many petitions and they cannot guarantee that to everyone. So in those cases, they usually allow the priest to join the regular celebrations and to join the priests that are part of the sanctuary. I'm not sure if this has answered your question, but I believe it has. All right, and finally another question from Jennifer from Toronto. I have never organized a religious trip, but I usually take care of all the arrangements in my trips. Do you think I can organize a trip to the Marian Route without help, or do you think I should use an incoming agency? Well, Jennifer, I cannot tell you that you're not gonna organize the trip. I mean, if you feel comfortable doing it, but for my experience with other travel agencies, especially the ones that come from abroad, they usually tell me that they want to use incoming agencies because it's very time-consuming for them to try to make all the arrangements. And especially if you haven't done any of this before, I don't know, I mean, if you feel comfortable doing the arrangements, go ahead and go for it. But if you don't, my recommendation would be to get in touch with an incoming agency that has experience with the religious trips and book it through them. That's going to be a guarantee for your customers of success. So anyway, we've come to an end of this session today. Again, thank you to all of you for taking the time to assist and to attend to this meeting. Hopefully, we'll see each other soon in another seminar on the Marian Route, and maybe we'll be talking about the other sanctuaries that we were not able to talk about today. Anyway, I hope you had a good time. It was useful for you. Thank you very much and have a nice day.